So, hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, where I'm joined by two very special guests. We've got Mustafa and Louisa. Mustafa, I've known for a very long time because we went to university together, but you're currently very, very far away from me. Where are you joining us from?
We are in Singapore. We just had the last Grand Prix.
Amazing. So, when we were at university, we never ever talked about Formula One. How did the two of you get into it?
I think a lot of new people to Formula One got in like the same way through Drive to Survive
Yeah.
on Netflix. I don't know if like the OG people in F1 like the new people that have come in F1. I feel like maybe you have like purists in F1 and then like there's all this like new fans which
Yeah.
maybe have changed F1 in a sense, but I get the feeling as long as the sport's growing, that must be a positive thing.
Yeah, I think so. I totally get the sentiment that you're talking about. People call it, DTS fans, Drive to Survive fans, but ultimately, I think it's growing Formula One. It's getting more stuff online. And I think it's great. So we've just had the Singapore Grand Prix. Louisa, how did you find it? What is it like living there while all of this is going on?
Well, I thought the Singapore Grand Prix was probably the most exciting race this season.
Because Verstappen didn't win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but I went on TikTok. A lot of people have been saying that as
yeah.
well.
It was a good race.
I think we'd
Yeah.
agree
Like
with you.
at some point there was like all of
Yeah.
the top four could have won it, technically I
Yeah,
guess. And
Mm.
how often does that really happen?
Yeah. And it was like real overtaking and all
Mm.
that.
it was very
So that was
strategic. It was
cool.
very good. Who are you supporting? Who are you a fan of?
I think, yeah, we're a Mercedes household.
Yeah,
Louisa very much Lewis Hamilton. I'm not
good.
so anti George Russell. Like I feel like you
Yeah,
guys may be.
yeah.
And I'm not even that anti Verstappen, which really upsets Louisa because she feels like he's not as cool and classy as Hamilton. But he's a driver and he drives and he does it very well. So I can't really hold that against him. What do you think?
Um,
Exactly what you said. What do you think?
um, yeah. I talk about this with Mohammed all the time. We're obviously Lewis Hamilton fans on Slow Pit
Yeah.
Stop, but it's trying to separate um, the driver and admiring someone's driving ability versus what you maybe see off track and the gossip and this
Mm.
versus the biggest factor, probably just my own jealousy of never like the worst driver on the grid that we will make fun of is clearly a million times better than I could ever be. So it's trying to balance all of that. But you live in Singapore. What's it like? Because it's a city circuit. It's not away somewhere. How does it transform where you live? How does it affect day to day life?
Yeah, so we went to the race, we went to watch it in person last year. I think we decided this year we're gonna watch it at home. I think partly because it seemed like it wasn't gonna be a great spectacle in terms of like a contest. It just
Mm.
seemed like
Yeah,
Red Bull were gonna win it. But this week, well, last week when it happened, there was also like a big crypto conference happening, so it felt like there was a lot of like new money and old money like coming in at the same time in Singapore. Like it was,
mm,
yeah, I think it was very busy, lots of events, lots of parties, and then you have people like us who are no money and aren't invited to all the cool celeb parties. So we just, yeah, enjoy it from a distance. But one day, I reckon we'll get to walk in the pits.
One thing I observed is that during the weekend, there really was a lot of really good-looking people in Singapore.
Was there?
Really.
That's really interesting. I didn't notice that myself, but okay.
none as good looking as you two though. Um, when you see the cars in real life versus on the TV, does it feel different? How does it feel watching it on the screen now that you've been there in real life?
Yeah, it was a little bit surreal seeing it for the like a Formula One car for the first time in real life. The
Mm.
place that we were at last year was at a place called The Stand, which actually they got
Mm,
rid of that corner this year, so it
yeah,
was just a longer straight. So where we were sitting last year was a very slow corner. So you got a good look at the cars, but I don't feel like we got to like see them go super fast and get to hear like the roar of the engine because it was a slow
Mm.
corner. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure we got like the full experience. Like ideally you want to be at like the grandstands, like opposite the pit lanes, I think. And I'm sure at one point we'll go like as soon as the race was like it was like, 10, 20 minutes before starting and Martin Brundle was like doing his grid walk, I started to get FOMO immediately. And I was
Yeah.
like, we're going next year.
Yeah.
Maybe we will go. Maybe we will go next year. I don't know. What do you think?
I do remember, I mean, of course, visually you see the cars, but I remember smelling the tires.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Yeah.
that's something that I cannot experience if I'm just watching it on TV. So
Yeah.
that experience was nice. Yeah, but it was just a lot of people, and it took us last year about 1.5 hours just to get out of that place and to get home.
Yeah. And to be fair, like
Oh.
it because it's not like a circuit where there's a lot of overtaking happening typically. It's not as bad as Monaco, but
Mm.
um, usually the race leader often wins, and last year it felt like it wasn't much of a contest. Like it rained a lot, and the race was
Mm.
delayed, if you remember. And honestly, I felt like the highlight for me was getting to watch Westlife. The concerts that happened over the weekend were great last
Yeah.
year. This
Yeah.
this year it was like Robbie Williams and Post Malone. Last year it
Right.
was
Westlife.
Westlife and Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
So the concerts are always
Mm.
good fun. They're always like
Yeah.
a decent lineup.
So I went to the Singapore Grand Prix in 2015,
Mm.
and I remember because I've been to Silverstone Spanish Grand Prix, and you're quite far away from the circuit. I can't even remember where it was, but the first car I saw was Daniel Ricciardo in a Red Bull, and we were so close to the cars, and I was just so shocked at how fast he was going around this corner.
Mm.
But yeah, this thing of you saying it took an hour and a half to get out. When I was there in 2015, it was a little busy, but I was walking around the whole circuit. You could leave easy, like, so clearly it's growing in popularity. What do
Oh,
you
for
think
sure.
about the people that say we should drop Monaco and just have Singapore instead?
Um, I think I think Monaco serves a purpose, but
Hmm.
that purpose isn't to have a race. It's
Yeah,
more for like tradition than
yeah,
anything. And you can argue there's a place for tradition, but it really is just for the wealthy elites and the prestige and the glamour, which to be fair is also a part of Formula One.
hmm.
So, like, who are we to say that like Monaco shouldn't be there? Like everyone knows like it's not the race to watch. That's okay then like watch the other races. Watch Azerbaijan. That's a decent street circuit for example.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's never like one to look forward to, unfortunately. I feel like it's the kind of race that'd be more enjoyable in person, but you wouldn't even be paying attention. You'd just be on a boat like
No,
partying
yeah.
anyway, so yeah.
A very diplomatic answer. I, for one, look forward to the day Monaco is finally dropped and we can forget about it. But yeah, so you've enjoyed the Grand Prix. You're there in Singapore. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the season? Do you think the other teams will be able to hold this form up, or do you think it was just a blip from Red Bull?
I mean, can you explain to me how like uh the Red Bull car can just overnight be so bad for this race and then like it's gonna be okay again for the next race? Like is it really just down to the fact that it's a street circuit, the fact that it's super hot, it just doesn't suit the Red Bull cars? Like I don't
Yeah, but
understand.
I did hear like Toto Wolff, he gave an interview just like few days ago. He says that like normally just Singapore is like an outlier.
Mm.
Like drivers who used to perform very well, consistently well, suddenly in Singapore they will not perform well.
But Red
I don't
Bull
know why.
But Red Bull won it last year as well. Like Perez won it. So like, can you explain to me what happened there?
So it's a bit of an unknown. The theories are one, their biggest strength is that they don't overheat the tires. But that
Mm.
means on a Saturday, the other cars always look a bit closer to the Red Bulls on a Saturday. And I think it's to do with the fact that because they're a bit more gentle, they don't get that heat in as quick on the Saturday, but on Sunday it means they don't wear them out, so they can go at a higher speed for longer. Whereas you remember
Mm.
Monza, Carlos Sainz was going as fast as he could to try and hold
Mm.
Verstappen back, but then tyres were just gone. There's also been a technical directive about flexible elements on front wings and floors, and people are saying, has this massively hurt Red Bull now that this loophole has been closed? That we will only know at the next race and the race after. If Red Bull's performance continues to be bad, we can say, well, okay, it was because of that new technical directive. If Singapore was a one-off, we can say it was to do with the way the track is a very slow track, so it's hard to get energy into the tyres, and therefore the advantage that the Red Bull has ended up being its weakness here.
Mm. Yeah, I don't really understand. Like, I get that we want it to be competitive, but it's so strange that like you don't want a team to get too competitive. It's like it's not. I feel like it's not an equal playing field then, because you're always trying to do something to hold back the leader, and it would be like saying, Coca-Cola, like you're selling too much Coke, like you're winning too much, so you're not allowed to sell 2 liter bottles anymore until everyone else catches up. Like I don't know if that's like a terrible analogy, but I don't understand. Like it seems like that's like saying to a football team, okay, we're just gonna take your best player, or we're gonna pick this one player,
Yeah.
whoever's played the most, and remove them. It's like that's not sports. Like
No. So
I don't
what I've
understand.
said
That's not how that
is
works.
I agree with you in the sense of I don't think they should be held back. What annoys me about Formula One is people keep being like, well, the rules will change in 2026. That'll be the chance to catch up. And I
Mm,
don't know what the answer to this because I'm not an engineer. But I wish there was a way that if a team was very far ahead, it would be quicker for other teams to catch up. So you could say, look, Red Bull have built this amazing car. They're going to have an advantage for a third of the season. But then somehow Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren are able to catch up. Do you know what I mean? So rather than holding people back, I wished it was somehow easier for other people to lift themselves up.
yeah, I'm not so much concerned about like Ferrari and Mercedes and McLaren. Like these are like as far as I'm concerned, they should be embarrassed of themselves. Like this is a sports thing they're losing out to, and this is Mercedes, this is
Yeah.
Ferrari, this is McLaren. Like these people, like I feel like I'm sorry, I have no sympathy with you. Like
Yeah.
you are a disappointment. You are like these incredible car brands. Like why have you not got your act together? I'd
Uh-huh.
much prefer to see like the teams at the very, very bottom being
Yeah.
lifted up. Like I don't want Red Bull held back so that Mercedes and Ferrari, because they've got such a big fan base, can like win.
Yeah.
I'd rather see like the
You want to see Hess?
like the Haas's, the Williams, the Alfa Romeo. Like I want to see like it's very competitive, you know?
Well, I think
Um,
weirdly, if you ignore Red Bull, I think it is the most competitive it's been because you look back, qualifying differences. It's like 1 or 2 seconds between the front and the back. Whereas you go back to, the golden age when people are talking about Schumacher and Mansell and Senna and whatever, the gap between
mm,
first and second is like 4 seconds. And
mm,
then people are like lapping every car apart from the top four or something constantly. Whereas now
mm,
the bottom teams don't have to constantly worry about being bankrupt. Yeah, the Haas isn't going to be as good as the Ferrari, but the team at least has a chance, and they're not, constantly worrying about disappearing. So I think if we could somehow ignore how good a job Red Bull have done, actually the rest of it would feel much closer.
yeah. If you don't ignore Red Bull, then it's actually the least competitive. So it's just like I don't know. I thought I was like super impressed with Carlos Sainz. Like he
Yeah,
actually is a smooth operator. Like
yeah,
he and this is the thing. Like it felt like he won that race in spite of Ferrari. Because on the
yeah,
team radio, they even said to him like, "Oh, like by the way, like Norris is in DRS zone,"
Mm.
and Sainz was like, "Yeah, I'm doing that on purpose so that you
yeah,
can pull me
Yeah.
along and then defend better." And I was like, "Do people do that in F1? That's genius! Like, find that balance between slowing down enough to help him, but not
yeah.
too slow so that you're at risk."
I think it was one of the best things we've
Ferrari
seen
was
in
like
driving.
aware.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best bits of driving we've seen in a long time, and I think
Yeah.
he won that race very, very deservedly because of his brain.
Mm. I was so impressed. Like, I didn't know he
Mm-hmm.
was like capable of that. And the fact that it didn't seem like Ferrari were even capable or at least aware of what he was doing leads me to believe that all the issues that have made Ferrari a bit of a laughing stock the past couple of years like still exist in terms
Hmm.
of like tactically or just bad pit stops or whatever. And I'm not sure like Leclerc and Sainz really trust their team in the same way that a Perez or a Verstappen would, or a Russell and a Hamilton would. I just thought it was really interesting that team radio interaction.
What do you think about these rumors of signs moving to Alfa Romeo once Audi buy it and becoming the team leader of Audi?
I mean, is he not? I feel like he's the team leader uh, of
Ferrari.
Ferrari at the moment. I know Leclerc is supposed to be like the golden child, but I haven't seen anything from Leclerc. I think Leclerc, I mean, the most overhyped driver is probably Ricardo, and maybe the second most right now is Leclerc. I don't know. Like, I know he's got a huge fan base, but I haven't seen anything from him to justify it. And at no point did I ever think last year or this year he was going to be like the second most competitive, which is
Hmm.
how he was portrayed at times. What do you think?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what's his standing right now. Like
Mm.
how many podiums he got this season. But I don't have this impression. I feel like he has done okay,
I don't think he's done anything.
but
Like
I don't have the numbers.
he qualifies well, but that's it. Like he's super fast
I think
around
he's
one
faster than
lap.
Carlos over a single lap, but I think Carlos is
Yeah.
smarter over a whole race.
I mean, to be fair, lots of things have gone wrong for Leclerc as well,
Mhm.
that haven't been his fault. But I like, yeah, I don't give him much attention. I would much like, I'm so much more impressed with Lando Norris, or with
Mm.
George Russell,
Yeah.
or Alex Albon, who are all performing, I feel like to the best of their abilities. But I think Leclerc is having a very tough time right now. But in answer to your question, like it's still Ferrari. Like there's
Hmm.
still something to be said that like I was a Ferrari driver.
Yeah.
Like that red, the support, and I don't know. I don't see signs leaving them anytime soon. There's still
No.
the prestige that
I think if
comes
you'd
with it.
asked me 2 months ago, I would have said, yeah, maybe, it feels like Leclerc's team. He's not getting what he wants. It makes sense for him to go somewhere else and try and be the team leader. Whereas after Monza and after Singapore, I think I agree with you. I think he is the team leader of Ferrari.
Signs.
Yeah.
I think he's in a like after the summer break, he's definitely like doing very, very well, and he's
Hmm.
got that confidence. But I can also see a scenario where he maybe hits a bad run of form, and then Leclerc picks up. I think it'll
Hmm.
be pretty even, probably
Yeah.
by the end of the season. But it seems like right now, Sainz has the edge for sure.
Hey, but I want to follow up on your question, right, Arafat?
Yeah.
So based on that rumor, so what does that mean? Is Alfa Romeo going to be a better team, like better car for Carlos Sainz? Better than Ferrari, you think?
Well, this is the thing. Better than Ferrari is the big question mark, but it should be better than it is now because the contract with Alfa Romeo ends this year. And then I think every year they're buying 25% of the shares to the point when 2026 it will be that Audi team. And that's, got much bigger finances and
Mm.
bigger
So you
engineers
think
and
it's
all
a
of that
good
behind it.
chance? It's a good chance to be better than Ferrari.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could,
So
in
so
theory,
much can happen between now and then.
Yeah, Alpine in theory is a big team with Renault backing and all of that, and we've seen them struggle over the last few years. So Audi could come in and like Mercedes, when Mercedes came in, it took them a couple of years, from 2010 till 2014, but then they just dominated. There's no reason why Audi couldn't do the same. Or like Renault, they could, be around P3, P4, P5 and struggle to really make it to the top.
Is it just me, or like is it not possible to take Alpine seriously? I feel like Alpine is like the name of a chocolate bar. And even like
Yeah,
the
Alpin.
colors of the car look like a chocolate bar like rapper. I can't take that team seriously. Like oh, I drive for Alpine. It's like, and I don't
I preferred
know.
it when it was Renault.
Yeah, right. Even
I'm
there, it's not
gonna,
that fancy, but still.
yeah. So Louisa, you had a question about the podium.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you if you know like anything about why when Lewis Hamilton won, he got the
Third.
third place. Mercedes wasn't there to celebrate with him. So what was that about? Like, is that
So,
normal?
well, it's a little bit confusing. So, no one has like officially reported on it. So you're trying to piece together things on Twitter. There have been some people who are in the Mercedes garage who have taken photos to say, "Look, this is the team coming back." But half of them had to go retrieve George's car, and they took photos of these people coming back with George's car covered in drapes and things. I remember once it happened. Was it Austria? Some other time it happened, and again it was George had DNF'd, so half of them went off, or they were packing his car away or something. So if they were all free and available, they would have all come. But I think because only some of them came and the others were all sent to retrieve the car, it gave the appearance that nobody came.
No, but that's the thing.
But
Like in
did
the
anybody
pictures,
came though?
yeah, that's the thing. In like the TikToks that I've been watching.
At least Toto like should have been there, right? Like one representative should have been there.
Yeah,
Like,
I from the pictures that I've seen, I've not seen any
Yeah.
Mercedes
Yeah.
representative. It sounds like there were.
like I'm gutted for Russell, but like Hamilton drove a great
Yeah.
race.
And he looked so sad. He was like sitting down waiting to be interviewed. It's like
I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was just tired, but
I know,
I think he was
I
tired
thought
because there's
about
other photos of him being really happy.
uh,
it. Yeah.
this is the Hamilton fangirl in her coming out. She just like wants to like comfort him.
Okay, so
Who
it was
doesn't?
fake news then. Like Mercedes was there.
Allegedly.
So apparently, yeah, allegedly, according to some sources, what do I know? You're the ones that are supposed to be on the ground in Singapore telling us.
Too distracted by the beautiful people.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope we get to do this soon, and we'll get you on for a full episode to do a full race review one day.
Yeah,
you.
this was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time in Singapore. Maybe it'll be for the race.
Thank you
It
for
should
having
be.
me.
Cool. I'll see you soon. Bye now.
Bye.